What's going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown, and if you're new here, welcome. So the last video I made, I predicted the 2019 Atlanta Falcons schedule, and if you haven't seen that yet, I basically say that we go 1-15 and miss the playoffs. No, I'm just kidding, but you are gonna like what I have to say if you're a Falcons fan. But in this video, I go over my bold predictions for what I think happens to the team in general, if that makes sense. I basically say what happens to this player, what happens to this coach, what happens to our offense, stuff like that. Before we begin, I have two really quick announcements. The first one is me and all of my friends on the Unintentional Grounding crew, which is Lieutenant Dan from Unintentional Grounding, Mad Mike Sports, Jazzy Jeff Real Talk, and of course the crew from the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports podcast. We're all gonna go live on that show, the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports podcast, and we're just gonna give out our 2019 Atlanta Falcons predictions, and that'll be this Sunday at 8 p.m. again on the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports podcast. The link to that channel is in the description below. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Do not miss it. Again, it'll be me and all of my Unintentional Grounding friends on the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports podcast this Sunday at 8 p.m. going live to go over our Atlanta Falcons 2019 predictions. And the other one, sometime this week or next week, me and my brother Lawson are going to make our full NFL 2019 predictions, predicting every team's record, who makes playoffs, who makes Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. The link to that channel, by the way, is also in the description below. It'll not be on this channel, it'll be on L2 Sports. I forgot to mention that. But anyway, let's talk some Atlanta Falcons starting right now. So, my first bold prediction for the 2019 Atlanta Falcons is Julio Jones gets his contract extension and a double-digit touchdown season. I know there's some Falcons fans out there saying that we don't have any cap space, it'll be hard to give Julio his money, but Arthur Blank is a real businessman. He found ways to pay Grady Jarrett even if at first he was on a franchise tag, and now he gave Deion Jones his money. I believe Arthur Blank will find a way to give Julio Jones the money he deserves. And yes, I think this will be done before the season starts, which is pretty soon. Also, lots of haters go off and say Julio Jones doesn't score touchdowns and he's never had a double-digit touchdown season. Well, first off, he actually did back in 2012, and he had 10 total touchdowns that year, so know your facts. And also, he doesn't score touchdowns. Yeah, he scored 8 last year. Again, know your facts. Sorry, I was trying to defend my favorite player in the league right now. But anyway, Julio Jones, I think, is in for his best year yet. I even have a video explaining why that is. It's one of my older ones, so I hope it's good. With Matt Ryan at quarterback, who has truly impressed me over the offseason and preseason, and a new offensive coordinator in Dirk Cutter, who essentially did create Julio Jones into the player he is now, watch out, opposing teams. Not only is Julio Jones about to get a double-digit touchdown season, but is also about to get 3,000 yards like he says. Now, I don't know if he'll actually get that many yards, but for sure it's possible. The second bold prediction, it's kind of two predictions in one, if that makes sense. But the first one is Matt Bryant does return to Atlanta. He's going to try out for the Falcons on Friday, and I am recording this on a Thursday. But anyway, I think he probably will make the team and get the starting spot at kicker when he does try out for the Falcons. But if that doesn't happen, alright, are you guys ready? I'm about to trigger some of you guys, but Giorgio Tavecchio bounces back. Alright, hold up. I know what you're thinking. Oh, but Logan, he stinked in the preseason. We even picked up Blair Walsh to try and replace him. I am not denying that Giorgio Tavecchio played horrible in the preseason. But look, man, Blair Walsh is a former Georgia Bulldog, and he's in the NFL for a reason. But when he's in his head, he kinda, screws it up. I mean, does the Vikings and Seahawks playoff game not sum it up for you? I am not trying to disrespect Blair Walsh. Again, he's a former Georgia Bulldog, and he's had some great kicks. But he's got to step things up here. Now, he is playing somewhat next to the University of Georgia, so maybe he'll do good for his Bulldog fans, but At the same time, Dan Quinn already is mentioning that Blair Walsh is missing a lot of kicks, even if he didn't play in the preseason yet. But here's where the Giorgio Tavecchio deal comes in. First off, if I didn't make it clear enough in my previous videos, I'll say it here. I do not overreact to what happens in the preseason. If a player does bad in the preseason, so what? Watch what he can do in the regular season. We saw what Tavecchio can do in the regular season before 2019. He made fantastic kicks. Also, Blair Walsh was supposed to replace him. You think maybe that motivates Giorgio Tavecchio to do better? I still am a big Giorgio Tavecchio fan, and people seem to disagree with that, and I understand why that is, but I'm willing to give him time. You can do it, Italian Ice. I believe in you. The next one is Kaleb McGary starts later on in the season. A lot of people seem to be very concerned about our offensive line, and I actually don't blame you. If there's one thing that, okay, I don't actually do this, but it feels like I do, pray every night hoping it's actually good, is the offensive line. We have players that either aren't used to our system or rookies that need NFL experience. So I can definitely see the concerns surrounding offensive line. I think we should be fine though. Alex Mack and Jake Matthews are key reasons why that is. Our veterans in Jamin Brown and James Carpenter should work out, and I think Chris Lindstrom will have a solid rookie debut. But Tyson Braylo, I'm sorry, I don't know what Dan Quinn sees in him, but eventually he'll do bad enough to where Kaleb McGary gets the starting spot. But not only that, Dan Quinn will want to give him some NFL experience as well anyway. Now yes, McGary has had some health issues, but other than last year, the Falcons have always done a good job of keeping their players healthy, so I'm not too worried about him. I wish him the best of luck, and I think he'll eventually get the starting spot later down the stretch of 2019. The next one is Takk McKinley gets 8 sacks or more. I've always been a huge believer in Takk McKinley. I loved his story he told us draft night 2017, and he seems to be very happy right now, which obviously is a pretty good sign for him. It sounds crazy, but if you have so much talent and you're a happy person, you can do a whole lot for not just yourself, but even the team. Also, I feel like I say this in every episode, but Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator now, so of course Takk should learn a lot from him. Dan Quinn also seems to be a big believer in Takk as well. He seems to talk about him a lot in press conferences sometimes, and said that he's been impressive over the offseason. Isn't that something you love hearing? With Dan Quinn at defensive coordinator, Takk McKinley impressing, and is just showing that things are going good for him, watch out for Takk McKinley. The next one is Falcons end up having a top 10 offense and defense. So no one can really argue that the Falcons have one of the more dynamic offenses in the league. In fact, they'll probably be a top 5 offense, but maybe people are sleeping on the defense. Look, Dan Quinn at defensive coordinator, who also coached the Legion of freaking Boom. You got Takk McKinley, Vic Beasley, the 2016 sack leader, Grady Jarrett and Deion Jones, who got their paycheck, an intriguing player in Foye Oluokun, Desmond Trufant, Ricardo Allen, Keanu Neal, DeMonte KZ, who was tied for the most interceptions last year, and in my eyes, a breakout player in Isaiah Oliver. Not to mention that they'll face some of the toughest opponents in the league this year, and not just in the NFC South, naming the Eagles, Texans, maybe Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers. If they do well with great offenses, it'll be a little hard to overlook them. The next one is Devonta Freeman is back. I do have a whole video discussing how if he's healthy this year, he could do amazing. And I think that's what's going to happen. Now, I don't know if he'll be healthy the whole way through. He'll maybe miss 2 or 3 games because he's kind of injury prone, but people tend to overlook this guy because of that. When he's healthy, he's a top 5, maybe top 3 running back in the league. He's fast, strong, small, so it's hard to tackle him. And boy, does he have some quick feet. I think he's got the best feet in the league, actually. That is, if Saquon Barkley doesn't keep showing off. Also, Freeman is working with probably the best offense he's ever got to work with. This will be interesting. The next one is Calvin Ridley breaks out. I've been saying this for a while now. with yet again a video explaining why I think if he breaks out, but I think it actually will happen. If you know this team really well, you'll know they don't let draft picks go to waste. Tevin Coleman had a bad year one, and then he totally broke out after that. Vic Beasley didn't do well year one, and then he led the league in sacks year two. Calvin Ridley didn't necessarily have a bad rookie debut, but I think this team will want to get him going a lot more. Plus, we already saw what all great things he can do when Matt Ryan throws it to him. He can get like 140 yards and 3 touchdowns, so we know the guy is good. But he's working with a very dynamic offense. There's really no reason for him to do bad this year, in my opinion. And the last one, Matt Ryan wins Super Bowl MVP. Not league MVP, because clearly people tend to hate this guy no matter what he does. He can throw 60 touchdowns and people will still give it to Tom Brady. But you all know Falcons could very well win the Super Bowl this year, and our key reason for doing so is this guy right here, Matt Ryan. He has truly impressed me over the offseason, and he's in for possibly his best year yet in 2019. As always, I have a video explaining that. But not just statistically, even his best year, as in he gets himself a freaking Super Bowl ring and a Super Bowl MVP. He'll do fantastic in Miami, and he's already got Super Bowl experience, so he won't be nervous or anything. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Other than that, please make sure to smash that like button, blow up the comment section, and definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any weekly content. There's new episodes every Tuesday and Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern, and I will see you guys this Tuesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Rise up.